I'm going to warn everyone ahead of time. This might be a tad lengthy, as I have quite a bit to say, and well, a lot has happened over the last year when it comes to this girl. I'm going to start off by saying that I was with her on and off for almost 6 years. The on and off part should be a very good indication that I should have jumped ship a long time ago, but I constantly allowed her to burrow back into my life. There really should be a subreddit called "Shit That My Crazy Ex-Girlfriend Has Done," or something close to that, because I have enough stories involving this girl that I could write a book. Hell, maybe even a reality TV show. Anyway, on with the story. I'll start by giving you some information about our relationship and what caused me to break up with her. I'll call her crazy, because that's what she is. About 2 years ago or so, Crazy started calling and texting me after we had broken up for close to 6 months. At first, I decided that I was going to ignore her because I knew if I let her back in, things would just go to hell in a handbasket eventually. However, one night, I had been drinking, and I got this lame-ass sentimental feeling. I decided to answer one of her text messages. That was all it took. She started coming over and eventually we ended up together again. We were together for close to 7 months before I finally got fed up with her bullshit and kicked her out of my apartment. She was physically abusive and a mental mindfuck. If I didn't let her use the car whenever she wanted, give her money when she claimed that she needed it, or basically do whatever the hell she asked when she asked it, she would have a tantrum like a 3-year-old and cause more drama than any one person can endure. During our time together, she managed to get herself into some real trouble after she beat some dude over the head with a beer mug at a local bar that we frequented. What really ended the relationship was when she started using meth and was bringing that shit into my home. I tried getting her help, but she turned it around on me as if I was trying to change her. So I just gave up. I told her mom that she needed to get her daughter and get the fuck out of my place before I called the cops and had her removed. I told her that we were done and I never wanted to hear from her again. At this point, I had given her multiple opportunities to change, but she refused and made it seem like I was the fucking problem. Whatever, I was done. But the problem was, she wasn't. The day I finally ended it was the beginning of her tormenting. She started her attack by creating a Craigslist ad under the escort section with a fake picture and my number as a contact. I received over 500 calls and text messages from random dudes looking to get laid. This lasted for about a week before shit calmed down. If that wasn't enough, the same night while my phone was blowing up, I see the security guard from my apartment complex nosing around my car, shining his flashlight in the windows. I go outside and ask the guy, "Is there a problem?" He responds, "I got a report here that this car is abandoned and needs to be removed." I'm just like, the fuck it does. That's my car, and I live in the apartment right over there. I ended up having to give my title and a valid driver's license to keep this douche from calling the towing company and having my shit removed. The next day rolls around, and I'm still getting a massive amount of texts and calls through my whole workday, which really pisses me off. I get home after work and I sit down and try to relax. When there's a knock at the door, I look out through the peephole and see some dude I've never met before standing outside. I don't answer. I wait for him to leave and then look out my balcony and I see the guy on his phone standing right out in front. I yell down to him, "Hey, can I help you?" He responds, "Is Crazy here?" I'm just like, "No, that's my ex and I kicked her out the other day. Maybe check her mom's house where she's staying." I ended up talking to this guy further. It turns out She set up a dinner date with him and gave the guy my address as the address to where she was staying. That night, another 3 men showed up looking to have a dinner date with her. I had work the next day, and while I'm there, she starts sending me text messages, pictures of the outside of my apartment, with messages like, "It's quite breezy inside your apartment with your patio door open. I hope your dog finds his way back home. He got out." So needless to say, this shit is stressing me out. I'm almost positive at the time it's bullshit, but there's always a chance that crazy actually broke in. I got home later to find my apartment exactly the way I left it, but it's the pure mindfuck of it all is what was close to giving me a fucking ulcer. The whole time, I'm ignoring her ass, hoping this shit will end soon. No, it only escalates. Once again after work, I have a knock on my door while I'm watching TV. I check the peephole, and there are 2 police officers standing outside. I'm just thinking, now what the fuck? As I open the door, and I'm greeted by 2 relatively large gentlemen in uniforms with shitty looks on their faces. I'm just like, "Yes, can I help you?" "Are you such and such?" asked one of the officers. "Yeah, is there a problem?" He replies, "Only if you consider raping a young woman a problem. Can you provide your whereabouts for the last 2 hours? I was fucking shitting myself, but responded, "Well, I just got home from work about 45 minutes ago. And what do you mean rape? Who told you that shit?" This bitch really stepped up her game, calling it in a false police report and getting the cops to come question me about it. That's just fucking bold. The cop responds, "I'm not at liberty to provide that information, but you do need to provide some proof that you weren't in the Galt area between 2 and 5 this afternoon." Now I'm actually starting to get kind of pissed off, knowing that I'm 100% innocent of this alleged rape. So I kinda get an attitude with this hard ass, which didn't really help my situation at the time, but I calmly responded, "If you want, you can go to my place of work and verify that I was there until 4. That will prove that I had nothing to do with this, and furthermore, the person accusing me of this crime, are you going to arrest them for filing a false police report?" And what I heard next floored me. The cop says, "I'm not so sure it's a false report. Your car is still warm, and you look guilty." Well, no fucking shit, my car is still warm. I just drove home from work less than an hour ago, Einstein. Some fucking awesome detective work there, Chief. They left, but before doing so, they told me not to leave my apartment, as they would be back if my story did not check out. Well, they never came back, and I called the police station multiple times to get an update on what they figured out. And you know what they fucking told me? No police report had been filed, and there was no record of any police being dispatched to my address on the day in question. How the fuck? I seriously was about to lose my shit. How can she continue to do this shit with no consequence? Mind you, I'm still getting messages and calls, less than in the beginning, but they were still coming in. I think it was like a week or so later and shit was quiet, minus all the calls and text messages I had been getting, but even those weren't all that heavy anymore. I started to think that she was done fucking with me, and I might be able to move on with my life, drama-free. Fuck no. I stop at my mailbox after work for about a week or so after the whole rape situation and receive a letter from the post office that said I had changed my address, but if it was incorrect, to contact them immediately to stop my mail from forwarding to another address. So I call these fuckers and tell them that I haven't moved, nor have I filled out a change of address form, so there's no reason to forward my mail elsewhere. They assure me that my mail will continue coming to my current address, and that I had nothing to worry about. Well, they were full of shit, because I didn't get another piece of mail for 2 months after that day. It took 3 phone calls and 2 visits to the post office to get that shit rectified. Now, had it just been me not getting my mail, I wouldn't have been so pissed about it. But once my mail was forwarded to the address where Crazy was getting it, she used it as an opportunity to get all my account information for my electric, gas, phone, cable, and banking information. I have extra security set up on my bank account, so that was safe, and my car payments weren't going away, but she managed to shut off my cable, my electric, and my gas. I also got phone calls from the phone company stating that changes would be applied to my account if I hadn't called. I was pissed. I ended up paying an extra $300 in fees to get my gas and electric bills put back into my name, mainly because my apartment complex ended up paying the balances on both accounts and charged me for that shit. This shit was getting to be too much. I tried calling the cops, and they asked me if I had gotten a restraining order. I explained to them that I had, but she continued to evade being served, and after a period of time, if the person is not served the restraining order, it's no good. Their response was, "We can't help you." Wow, thank you. You can't help me, but you can follow up on a false police report and then just ignore that shit like it never happened. Gotta love the fucking cops out here. However, I got a break. If you remember, she was arrested for smacking some dude over the head multiple times with a beer mug, right? Well, she finally got convicted and was given 3 months in jail for it. 3 fucking months? Are you kidding me? There's no way in hell I could go out and beat some guy with a glass object all willy-nilly and not go away for at least a year, if not longer, but somehow she squeaked by with ease. Either way, that meant peace and quiet for at least that period of time. I was watching her status in jail online from time to time to make sure her ass was still locked up, when one day I checked and saw that she had been released 2 days prior. In my head, I screamed "fuck" out loud and started to get paranoid about what this girl might come up with next. Weeks went by and nothing happened. Finally, she's done giving up. Or so I thought. A few weeks ago, it started with a text, a picture of a pregnancy test that showed positive. It came from a number that I had never seen before, so I wasn't sure who it was, but I had my suspicions. Figuring it was her, I texted back saying, "Haha, finally, any ties to you I had are broken. Have fun with that poor schmuck who knocked your crazy ass up." I got a response, "You obviously don't know who this is," which was true and really got me thinking, considering I had talked to a few other women since being with my ex. Either way, I just ignored it and hoped it would just go away. Over the next week or so, I kept getting text messages. Only that one picture, nothing else. Once again, I kept ignoring until I got another text. This time, it was a picture of a woman holding her stomach, showing that she was pregnant, minus the head. Immediately after that text, I got another saying, "I guess we know who the fertile one out of the 2 of us is now, don't we?" That there showed me that it was the ex, as we actually tried to have a kid before but were never able to, so I responded back, "Awesome. Have a great life with whatever schmuck managed to impregnate you. Thank fucking Christ it wasn't me. Now kindly, fuck off." She replied back with a bunch of stupid insults that are irrelevant to the story, and I just ignored, figuring that she had done what she wanted, rubbed in the fact that I could possibly be sterile, which to me, that shit is a win-win. I can't have kids, and now she's got other shit to deal with that'll keep her from bothering me. A week or so went by, and it's last week, Thursday. I'm the type of person that tends to do shit at the last minute when it comes to waking up in the morning and getting to work. I sleep as late as I can, and when I get to my car, I need to leave right away or I could end up being late. So I'm heading to my car, and I notice something stuck to it. There are 3 magnets on my car with some stupid ass slogan. I think one said something about being a cat lady or some dumb shit like that. I didn't really pay any attention as I peeled them off because I needed to get to work. What I did notice was the bitch superglued the fuckers to my car, so it wasn't easy getting them off. And I still had remnants of the magnet on my car. That wasn't the worst part, and to explain the second part, I must first tell a short story. I explained how Crazy got into using meth. One day, when I allowed her to use my car, she went to meet her brother at his apartment. They got into an argument because he owed her some meth. He didn't have any, and she thought he did. In turn, the brother wanted to leave, and in an attempt to stop him, the bitch used my car to barricade him in. And when she did, he got out and kicked in my driver's side window, and then got back into his truck and then proceeded to run into my car until she moved out of the way. So I didn't have a driver's side window for the longest time, and he didn't have insurance because he's a fucking tweaker, and getting money from him to fix the window is pretty much impossible. I'm also lazy and do things at the last minute, so I never really got it fixed. The weather in California allows me to drive around with a broken window and not have to worry about the interior of my car getting ruined. Anyway, back to last week Thursday. Now I have a magnet stuck to my car and I'm about to get in when I see approximately 5 pounds of dog shit with open condoms just chilling in my driver's seat. You've got to be fucking kidding me, I think to myself as I look for something to quick clean this shit. Actual shit out of my fucking car. There was a plastic bag on the ground, so I grabbed it, and thankfully the shit was dry, so I was able to quickly get it off my seat. I'm sure I still ended up sitting in some, but I didn't have time to fucking waste, and I was already late. I needed to get my ass to work. I got there and told my boss. Thankfully he's a cool guy, and let me take the first half hour of work to clean it out completely. Needless to say, I have replaced the driver's side window on my car. Now I wait, wondering what the fuck this girl has in store for me next. My guess, something even more fucked up. Now I know I'm gonna get 2 questions. The first, why haven't I changed my number? And the second, why haven't I moved? To answer the first, I have too many people that know my current number, and I'm not going to let that crazy bitch win by inconveniencing myself and changing it. Second, I plan on moving, but I don't have the greatest rental history, so breaking my lease wouldn't help that by any means. So I'm sticking it out, and hoping Crazy just fucks off.
This all began late July of 2012. I come from a small town where everyone knows everyone. I had just turned 18, and as most 18-year-olds in my town, we'd like to go drinking down the beach and have a bonfire. I would have my regular group of friends who I would hang out with, and we would go for drives to the bigger city to find things to do. I was on one of my drinking nights with a close friend of mine. We'll call him Adam. So Adam and I went for a drive from my parents' house in the rural area to town, and we decided we wanted to go out to the big city to watch a movie. After saying goodnight to my parents and hopping into Adam's car, we went to the movie theater and had a good time. After the movie had finished, we decided to go to McDonald's to get some food. This is where I met the man who ruined my life. He served my friend while I stood beside him at the counter, busying myself with my phone, texting friends and whatnot while Adam placed our orders. The guy who was serving us gave me a smile, and I smiled back as I said to my friend I was going to have a cigarette. He nodded and I went outside. Moments later, he walked out with our food, and the guy who served us was walking behind him. He came and stood next to me and asked for a lighter and introduced himself. We'll call him Chris. So Chris sparked up a conversation and gave me his number and said that he'd like to take me out sometime for a movie or something. I agreed and made plans to see him the following weekend. After about a month of spending a lot of time with Chris and him coming out to my parents' place, we agreed to make our relationship official. He would spend most weeknights at my parents' house. I lived in my granny's flat on my parents' property, and he dropped me off at school in the morning to the disgust of my friends who all caught the bus. One morning after Chris had stayed over and was driving me to school, I said to him that we should pull up next to the bus, which was waiting for students to climb aboard. One of my friends was waiting next to the bus, so I stuck my head out the window and told her to climb in. This was mistake one, introducing the two of them. A few weeks after my friend met Chris, we broke up, and it was a messy breakup. Shortly after the breakup, the scary shit began to happen. I would hear people walking around the gravel driveway at random hours of the night. I would see Chris's car sitting down at the end of my parents' road under the streetlight before I would go to bed. The stalking progressed to where I could hear him standing outside my ranch slider talking to someone, then trying to jiggle open the garage door and walking around in the gravel. Things began to really become scary for me when I would receive phone calls and texts from a random number during class about how this person was watching me as I would walk to the bus every morning and what my parents were doing throughout the day, and threats with things like how they were going to break into my house and rape me and hide the body somewhere deep in the forest where nobody would ever find me. At this time, I was finishing my end-year exams and preparing for university applications, and feeding all sorts of information to my friend who we'll call Julia. She, unknown to me, had been spending more time with Chris since the first introduction when we gave her a lift to school. This was a fatal mistake on my behalf because she knew exactly where I was going to be, what my timetables were, and when I would most likely be alone and an easy target for Chris to find me. They began to date, and the texts became more frequent from the both of them. Even an attempt to harm me one evening when I stayed late with people from my drama class working on our final performance for the year, and would be alone in an easily accessible classroom until about 10 p.m. Some of my classmates noticed his car parked across the road from where our classroom was, and said it looked like there was two figures sitting in the car waiting for me to come out. I freaked and rang my mom and informed her. She came and collected me and took me home, watching the road to make sure that they hadn't followed us. The shit really hit the fan when I became so scared that I had to go to the police about the messages I had received, and the fact was that there was someone coming into the property and trying to break in and harm me or my parents. Chris carried weapons in his car because he liked to hunt, and I knew it was also for security purposes because he was in the underground world of drugs. I had lodged a formal complaint against Chris and informed the police of the weapons he had on his person and in his home, so the police went around and they had a look for anything, but they couldn't find anything, which set him off even more. That evening, he sat down at the end of the road as per usual and waited for all the lights to go out. Then he came out along the front padlocks of the house and up the driveway. I was sleeping in my parents' living room, which was right beside the driveway, with big open windows and ranch sliders to my brother's room. I heard him walk along the side of the house on the driveway and towards my flat, thinking I was there, and I heard the sound of a gun being cocked. I sat up for a moment thinking, what should I do? I commando crawled down the hallway to my parents' room and quietly said to my mom, "Someone's outside. Mom, get up, someone's outside." My dad bolted upright and grabbed his robe and his .22 rifle and ran out of the kitchen door, setting off the sensor light, and bolted down the driveway chasing after somebody that ran through the information padlock. After that night, things calmed down for about a month, till I was packing up to move 10 hours away to a new city. The night after I left, my mom rang to say someone had been in my house and had walked with muddy boots on because there was rather large footprints all over the house, as if someone was trying to scope the place out. Odd things would happen at my parents' place, like trees would get cut down in the middle of the night, or a car would drive super slow past it with all of its lights off at odd hours of the night. Things started happening to me at my new apartment. Each morning when I would go out, there would be a car always parked across the road with windows tinted out, watching me. And I would receive voicemails of a violent nature from private numbers. This kept up till late last year when it all stopped. No phone calls, no sightings of random cars, no odd things going on at my parents'. Every time I go home, I never tell anyone when I'm leaving and when I'll be back at my parents' for my own safety. I get flashbacks when I hear something like a car backfire or I see a car similar to Chris's driving around. I always keep my home address private and my phone numbers restricted for my own safety, because he's always hunting me and I don't want to put other people at risk. I always say to my mom, if I go missing, you'll know where to start looking. Update. So this was originally written at the end of 2015 and kept private because there was a spark of activity. I had traveled home for Christmas period. I was due for major surgery in January, which meant I couldn't spend time with my friends or family after it, along with the death in the family. Stupidly, my sister had said to a few friends who were well known for not keeping their mouths shut and see Julia on a regular basis, that I was going to be home till mid of January. I wasn't actually at my parents' home till the end of January, but my father had an encounter with Chris. First time in 3 years we had seen him, and he had pulled up along the side of the fences and stuck his head out of his window. This is normal to have people talking to my dad from their cars because we live in such a small rural area, and we are rather close with neighbors who are all a fair distance away. He stuck his head out and asked if I was around and that I was an old friend. My dad clicked instantly as to who it was and said if he didn't leave right now, he was going to grab his gun and that's the end of it. Chris laughed and said, "We both know you won't be doing that before I put 2 bullets in your head. Now where is she?" My dad, thinking on his feet, said that I was in a hospital 3 hours away and that I'm now living in the biggest city north of my parents' house. He thanked my dad and said to him to watch his back. My dad didn't tell me this when I came home from recovery because he didn't want to stress me out. But I changed my cell phone number and made sure my social medias were extremely tight, with no geotags or anything that could give away where I am. It's scary to know that someone still holds a grudge to this day, because I know some extremely sensitive information about him.